Now, in the past couple months of testing the wireless paper frame from Aluratek, I think it's a very unique thing in the Spectra 6 world. When I saw the Aluratek frames at CS earlier this year, what really stood out to me was the small form factor and unique appearance compared to the ink poster that was also unveiled there. So for example here, you could see I mimicked some digital signage here. This is just something I found on the web that's talking about signage. If you were like a small business owner at the $350 price point, I think this is a really cool option of putting something on the wall or having a menu, for example. And the cool thing is that it gives you that versatility of having it be an art frame or signage. I'll show you a little bit inside. You can see there's 3 screws that hold it together. 1, 2, 3. Here is what the inside looks like. You'll see there is a foam padding, and then the connection here that connects to the side of the panel here. And just like a regular frame, there are these swivel captive pieces that hold it in place. And that is the white mat that it comes with. There are these 3 thumb screws that are able to be attached here. And you'll see there's 3M mounts everywhere. If that's something that you want to permanently affix because you're set on the way you like it, that's something you can do. It does come in a pretty premium packaging here, just like the matte black box that it comes into. And similarly, there is also a matte black frame with the beveled edges on the matte. I'll show you it in the frame right now, so I'm gonna plug it in. So compared to something that's affixed like this is a Bloom 8 prototype, or the reflection frame I've looked at, you will notice a little bit of a larger gap from the matte here to the panel, because it is a removable piece. And because this is meant to be kind of a standalone unit, it is a little bit raised here. And so that adds a little bit of raised texture to that. So I think it is good as a frame piece. In terms of what's included in the box, we have this little stand here, which is an acrylic plastic, and that just slots in nicely here when you want to use it as a stand. Then in this box, there's a charging cable, USB-C to C. There's a little mini screwdriver. There's some mounting hardware for the wall, and then there's the landscape orientation and portrait orientation. And then in here are some more thumb screws as well. I'll get it to change here, just mild flash warning for you. The way I want to use it is like this, because I want to display a little bit more modern stuff that I don't think really fits in an art style. I've actually had it hung on my door, so I'll show you some shots of it over there, what it looks like there. So here's an example of where having no wires is really nice. This is a door, and it's not really something that you could hide cables behind. So you see I have some signage up here right now, and if I press the next button, shortly it will start updating. This was one of the images that I think was preloaded and I tested the burn-in on. So I'll zoom out a little just so you can see the door that it's on, but I didn't really want to have an art frame on this door. Putting an art frame here would have filled up most of the door, and I didn't really want that, so having the ability to remove it was really nice. You can see how in something like this, the colors do look very vivid, especially the yellows. Here's a drawing I did on the Remarkable Paper Pro on it, and I also mounted it with Velcro in the back because having it on the little wire they provide on a door, something that you're moving constantly, would have shake, whereas the Velcro stays flush and is really mounted nicely. And it gives me the ability to quickly rotate it and put it in landscape if I want. So you'll see the lights are here with the power on, and if I just tap the top button, the power will turn off and you can't really see those. And then I do still have access to the USB-C port here. So you'll see it update now. It's going to mimic this up here. Side note, I've actually had this image here for almost 3 months. So we could take a little bit of a look of it compared to that next to it on the desk, and I'll get a little closer so you can see the differences in the dithering patterns. So the important thing to understand about Spectra 6 is that these are the same panels. They're 13.3 inches and they're 150 DPI, but the way they can be tuned with the dithering algorithms is what produces very different looking images on them. So you can see here on the Bloom 8, the reds are a little deeper than they are here, but then again, the car looks a little more defined here, and the blues are popping a little bit more here. So I'll get the macro lens on them really quickly, and I'll focus right down here, and then I'll take a quick look at the car just so you can see the differences on them. I've actually left that there because I want to do a burn-in test, and I've actually discovered something about burn-in on this, where I had it repeatedly syncing because it has schedules. I had it repeatedly syncing the same image. So I'll do a full video about burn-in where I'll be using these 2 as examples, and I'll let you know what I've found because I haven't changed that image yet, so I'm not sure, but I want to leave it a little bit longer. Now, if you're not really familiar with how e-ink works, it moves physical pigments and little particles to the surface. So the nice thing about that is that when it's displaying something, it's not actually using power, and it doesn't appear to be a digital device because it has good reflectancy of light. So there's some light coming here, some light coming there, and it's just reflecting those. There's no front light in these at all. Spectra 6 specifically can display 60,000 colors, whereas most other color e-ink like Gallery 3 and Kaleido 3, which we'll talk about in a second, have much lower color counts. And so the beauty of that is just like this, there's no power cord attached to that. This is the same, and the battery can last about a year to 2 years, depending on how often you're changing the image. I've had it for about 2 to 3 months, and it has not needed any charge whatsoever so far, and I've been changing it relatively frequently. So it does generally need good lighting for the reflectancy, but normal art does need that too, so it's no different in that sense. If you have it in a very dark area, it's not going to really pop, but with good ambient lighting, it will look very good. There is no front light on these like the Kaleido panels and the Gallery panels have. Speaking of Gallery and Kaleido, we'll go on the desk again just so I can show you some of the differences between that and Spectra 6. I will do a full video comparing prints to Gallery to Kaleido to Spectra. So this will be a little bit of a preview of Spectra versus Gallery versus Kaleido on the video I'll make. I've already shown this print before, but I do want to source some new prints to compare these. So this is the Pocketbook Inkpad Color 3, and then this is the Remarkable Paper Pro Move, and this is the Aluratek, and then the print. So I'll just go over some brief observations, but because the color amount is much wider here, the colors are deeper for sure, whereas Gallery and Kaleido do appear a little bit washed out in general. One thing you'll notice is the green on the turtles here is very vibrant, as is the yellow. The yellow does mimic pretty closely here, but all three of these e-ink panels do seem to struggle a little bit on the greens. This green's pretty good. This one is very washed out and a little more yellowish, but this one is a little bit deeper than I'm seeing on Gallery. And then another noticeable thing is all the masks on the turtles here do appear much more lifelike to the actual print here, whereas here they get very different shades, and like I mentioned, they're washed out. So that's just a little quick comparison between these three, but like I mentioned, I'll do a full video on this. Now the app for the wireless paper frame is pretty good. It allows you to do time intervals when it does a refresh and a check, or it allows you to do scheduled intervals. So maybe every morning at like 5 a.m. it could change image, so you don't see that flashing if you don't want to. But it's nice, you can add a little playlist there, and the device itself can store up to 10 images on it. So those buttons on the side where you have next, you can physically press that and make it change, or you could have 10 preloaded images on there where it just cycles through, and it wouldn't even really need to connect to Wi-Fi to do that because it has a little bit of onboard memory. And so the only other one I think that's going to be able to store stuff on it is going to be the Bloomin' 8. This is a prototype, so it doesn't have the SD card reader, but I think the Bloomin' 8 will have that. So it's really cool to see something like that in here, and just makes for a really complete overall package with the versatility of being able to change it into a regular mat or have it be like this, where it's either on a wall or on a stand like that. It kind of offers something unique. Right now, I think the only other consumer digital signage is the Samsung EDMX, which I covered in a video, but that is much larger, and I think it's like $1,400, has pretty bad battery from what I've heard, and the app is pretty garbage. So this is a really nice small alternative. And I think for people that want something to display comics like this, movie posters, something where you don't really want it in a mat like this, just a little bit of a cleaner look in this little frame here that you can put on a stand like this or on the wall. It's a really cool option. So when I finish my Spectra 6 burn-in test, you can check that out here. Or in the meantime, you can check out my whole Spectra 6 playlist right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.